We're back at it again. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers report. Yesterday was rough. Today, we're all feeling like this. And a lot of you like to enjoy your coffee in the morning. I'm right there with you. I'm a coffee aficionado. But that cup of joe this morning didn't taste as good. And I'm just not feeling as good about myself. You compare this feeling on this Monday morning to how we felt last Monday morning when the Niners came through with that highly impressive win over the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. That loss yesterday, it sucked. What happened? We're going to go through it all here on the show, and I'm giving you some excellent Niners analysis, so don't you dare go anywhere. And let's start here. The 49ers, simply put, crushed, dominated, embarrassed by the Houston Texans yesterday, deep in the heart of Texas. And I thought the biggest problem with that game yesterday, and this has been a lingering issue for San Francisco outside of that Atlanta game after the Nick Bosa injury, the 49ers pass rush is non-existent. And you can't survive in the NFL without a pass rush because if quarterbacks have all day to drop back, survey the field, go through their progressions, and they don't have any worries about getting hit, getting pressured, getting sacked, they'll be able to pick you apart. I don't care if it's Cooper Rush, Carson Wentz, or Patrick Mahomes. You can't play defensive football this way. It's not sustainable. This is why General Manager John Lynch needs to make either a trade or trades. This is why I've been saying this for weeks, since that Nick Bosa season-ending injury. Now, John Lynch last week did say on the radio, we don't need to make a trade. We have enough in our building. No, you don't. And hopefully John Lynch came to that realization yesterday when the Niners couldn't generate any pressure on C.J. Stroud. They couldn't push the pocket, and they were stopped dead in their tracks by one of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League. The Niners yesterday, 10 pressures total as a team, 0 sacks. And obviously the Niners are very banged up here. No Nick Bosa, no Bryce Huff, no Yetur Gross-Matos. It's not an excuse. Mykel Williams, your first-round pick. You got to play better. And an issue here is that Robert Saleh is trying to generate pressure on the QB by dialing up all these blitzes. That then leaves you with a lack of numbers on the back end. And so you look at these numbers here, it's not going to cut it. And it's impossible to play in the secondary when you're getting no help up front. Because if you're a cornerback, if you're a safety, and Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa were not good yesterday, when they were targeted, they were giving up chunk plays and a lot of plays. But you can't expect your secondary members to trail these wide receivers when the quarterback is just like, drop him back. No pressure. No pressure. And the average yards between the Niners defensive lineman and C.J. Stroud, it was like 3 to 4 yards. He was untouched, unblemished in the pocket all day long. He was even making plays with his legs because nobody could get close to him. And he's not even a mobile quarterback. And so if you're a corner, if you're a safety, and you're having to trail these wide receivers for 7 to 10 seconds, you're just asking them to pull off something that's really difficult to do. And how about this? I have rarely seen a time of possession disparity like the one that we saw yesterday. And this is because the Niners couldn't get off the field on third downs, partially because they couldn't generate pressure on the QB. Houston possessed the football for 41 minutes and 22 seconds in a 60-minute ball game. And keep in mind, some of those seconds are also allocated to special teams, right? So Houston won time of possession 41 plus minutes to 18 minutes. And look at their scoring drives. Look at how many plays they ran within those scoring drives and how much time they were able to eat off the clock. That's a lot of time for your defense to be on the field, and then they just wear down because the offense also wasn't able to sustain drives by themselves. 16 plays, 57 yards, 9:39 to start the game. 9 plays, 71 yards, 340. 10 plays, 82 yards, 553. 11 plays, 62 yards, 454. 12 plays, 76 yards, 701. 10 plays, 58 yards, 547. 6 scoring drives for Houston, and only one of them single-digit plays. And a formula to win in the NFL is to find a franchise quarterback, protect that franchise quarterback, and get after the opposing quarterback. Niners starting quarterback is hurt. They can't protect the quarterback because this offensive line stinks. More on that in a moment. And the Niners can't get after the quarterback either on the defensive side of the football. Which brings me to point number 2. And I'm shaking my head because I have been talking about this since 2021. For those of you who don't know, it is Monday, October 27th, 2025. I host a 49ers talk show. I think that I could do a better job of putting an emphasis on building up the offensive line than Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, who are paid millions of dollars to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am here saying that this 49ers offensive line absolutely blows. It's the same thing over and over and over again. When the 49ers offensive line has to face a top-tier unit with high-end pass rushers, they get outclassed and they get exposed. And this has especially hurt the Niners in the biggest of games. The Niners as a team didn't give Mac Jones a chance yesterday in Houston. Colton McKivitz gave up 4 pressures. Trent Williams surrendered 4 pressures and gave up a sack. Matt Hennessy gave up 2 pressures, but played pretty well, surprisingly. Nick Sakel gave up 2 pressures. Dominic Pooney gave up 2 pressures. Connor Colby gave up 1. Watching Colton McKivitz go up against Will Anderson was like watching Shaquille O'Neal in his prime, backing down a D3 center in the post. A mismatch. And this is a player who the Niners love, a player who the Niners just paid, but they paid him because he demanded pretty average money in an offensive tackle market that's exploding because the Niners don't prioritize offensive linemen. Mac Jones was pressured on 15 of 26 passing attempts. How can you expect any quarterback, whether it's Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Patrick Mahomes, or others, to have success when they drop back 26 times and they're pressured on 15 of those throwing attempts? It's impossible to play quarterback that way. So once again, just like the Buccaneers game, I'm not blaming this loss on Mac Jones. He played pretty well. Offensive line was awful, and his wide receivers let him down, including Jawan Jennings, a player who has a bad attitude, is playing poorly, and should get benched. It will be a fireable offense if this offseason, after the 2025 campaign, the Niners do not seriously address the offensive line in a serious manner, because it continues to cost them and hurt them, especially against upper echelon defenses. Now, when Brock Purdy comes back, his mobility can help out a little bit with this, but he's also going to be dealing with the lingering effects of turf toe. And so, like we saw against the Jags, he might not be as mobile. He might be a little bit more hesitant to run. And I said this going into the year, that Purdy's mobility so oftentimes has bailed out what has been a bad Niners offensive line. San Francisco has tried to put Band-Aids on it, but now with the quarterback who doesn't move all that well, those Band-Aids have been ripped off, and that offensive line has been exposed. The 49ers have told us their team-building philosophy is to draft skill players who can score touchdowns over offensive linemen. That team-building philosophy makes 0 sense, because if you can't pass protect or run block, you can't get those players the ball for them to score touchdowns and make splash plays. And this is a Kyle Shanahan problem, because he thinks that he can make do with bad offensive lines that against elite teams always get pushed around. More to get to here on the show, but first, today's San Francisco 49ers report brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It's very easy to play. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. You choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. It's available in 45 states, and all you have to do is pick, predict, and play. I know you all know ball. I want you to show me. Prize Picks also has some new features. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Christian McCaffrey's rush yards, receiving yards, and touchdowns, for example. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Some Monday Night Football action tonight, a 3-pick power play. Former Niner Deebo Samuel more than 49.5 rushing and receiving yards. Marcus Mariota less than 195.5 passing yards. Patrick Mahomes more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like Kansas City big. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Point number 3 here on the show, outlining why the Niners got crushed by the Texans. Kyle Shanahan was outcoached by DeMeco Ryans. Look at the disparity here. Look at the statistical comparison. This was a butt-kicking by the Texans, just annihilating San Francisco. I feel bad for all the Niner fans who took over Energy Stadium in Houston, traveled to Houston, had themselves a great weekend, only to see that game play out in that manner. Houston, winning time of possession, 41-plus minutes to 18-plus. First downs, 23-12. Plays, 31-play difference between the Texans and the Niners. Total yards, more than 200 yards, 475 to 223. And because the Niners can't get after the quarterback, 9 of 16 on third down. The Niners, 3 of 9. And this game should have been worse. The Texans were 1 of 5 in the red zone. If the Niners did anything good defensively, it's that they buckled down inside the 20 and gave up field goals instead of touchdowns. But C.J. Stroud was awesome, had the best game of his season, and he badly needed it. This Houston team badly needed it because it had been a really bad offense. He had been regressing. But we saw yesterday, man, when he has time, he can sling it. He throws a great football. 30 of 39 on the day, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a quarterback rating of 106.6. Keep in mind, he was without his number 1 wide receiver in Christian Kirk and a big offseason addition in, his number 1 wide receiver, Nico Collins, was out, and he was without another big offseason addition in Christian Kirk. And then there's this. Obviously, the Niners are 5-3. Their season is not over. Right now, they're the number 7 seed in the NFC. But they are 3-0 inside the NFC West. And so they still have an opportunity to win this division. But shoot, rematches coming up against the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. Those are going to be hard games. The issue with the Niners, how does any of this get better? The offensive line isn't changing this year. Trade deadline is coming up. Niners aren't going to trade for an offensive lineman who's going to make that much of a difference. This defensive line isn't going to change personnel-wise unless there's a trade. Bryce Huff can come back, but while he was great against Atlanta, this was an overall team loss. The Niners would have lost that game, whether Bryce Huff was on the field or not. So I think the Niners need to make 1 or 2 trades for a pass rusher. But they might be saying, we really want to hold on to draft picks for the future. Look, I like what you've done the last 2 drafts, and there's no doubt these rookies from 2025 need to play a little bit better. You're also 5-3. You extended George Kittle. You extended Fred Warner. Nick Bosa's on a contract. Trent Williams is older. Like, you're in a spot now in a wide open NFC where you can compete this year, but you need to make a move for a pass rusher or pass rushing help, being multiple players. And some people have said it's not going to make a difference. If you can actually get to the quarterback, it makes the second and third levels job of the defense so much easier. Now, it's not going to solve the offensive line, but with Brandon Ayuk coming back and Ricky Pearsall coming back, does that help out the Niners at least a little bit? And what's unfortunate is that if the Niners stay put, they're going to have to continue to pull out these crazy wins. And when you're winning 1-score games, that can flip on its head very quickly. For instance, last year, The Niners couldn't win any of those one-score games. This year, they've won a lot of one-score games. All of their victories outside of the Atlanta game, which was close at the end of the game, were one-score victories. And so you can't go into every game having to play perfect and pull out a nutty win like you did against the Rams. Or you play perfect against Atlanta. Like, you're going to need to win playing more balanced football. And another issue with the Niners not making a trade for a pass rusher, if they don't, it's the blitz problem. Robert Saleh has no other choice but to blitz the opposing quarterback because he knows with his front four, they're not getting home. And the Niners blitzed C.J. Stroud on 14 of 42 dropbacks, 33%. That's pretty high. And Stroud against the blitz, 11 of 13, 90 yards, a rating of 121. So this isn't fair to Robert Saleh. Another thing, mentioning the players that I mentioned, of you wanting to maximize their windows to try to win right now in a wide open NFC, you might only have Robert Saleh for 1 year. So do him a favor. Give him some help. Because right now, it's not fair to Robert Saleh that he has to coach with a lack of talent with all of the injuries that have happened. So if I was Saleh, I would walk into John Lynch's office today and say, up until this point this year, I've been coaching my tail off. I've been making chicken salad out of chicken shit. But you saw yesterday, it's not sustainable. Long-term play, we can't continue to play like this. And it's hard to coach like this. I need you to make a trade or trades for a pass rusher. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on the 49ers Report for daily and year-round coverage of the Niners. Win or lose, I'm always breaking it down for the faithful.